Now, I'm pleased to introduce the launch of the Corporate Governance Index, introduced by Dr. Mohammed Hayaza, President of Alfaisal University, and presented by Dr. Abdulaziz Alwthnani, Director of the CGI Project, College of Business at Alfaisal University. Please, welcome to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Saudi Arabia has been recognized as an economic powerhouse in the world. Its inclusion in the G20 is a further recognition by the international community of its importance to the world economy. Hosting this gathering, this very important economic gathering of 27 countries, is yet another testimony of the excellent fiscal status attained by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is in the midst of an economic transformation. Foreign institutional investors were recently allowed to invest directly in the domestic stock market. More recently, fully owned foreign retailers and wholesalers were allowed to enter the Saudi market without a traditional Saudi partnership requirements. These two initiatives are just two examples of change. The overriding objectives of these initiatives is for the kingdom to become one of the region's diversified economic centers and to advance the performance of different sectors of the economy, including state-controlled enterprises and family businesses as they transition between generations. As part of this effort, corporate governance is identified as a risk factor that warrants special attention. The newly created Corporate Governance Index, CGI, that we celebrate today is the product of a partnership between Alfaisal University and the Saudi Arabian General Investment Authority, SAGIA, led by His Excellency Engineer Abdullah Al-Uthman, the Governor and Deputy Governor, His Royal Highness Prince Saud bin Khalid Al-Faisal. Al-Faisal University is one of the most dynamic and entrepreneurial research institutes in the kingdom. Founded in 2002, Al-Faisal is a private, non-profit, student-centered university which aspires to become a world-class research institution. Academically, it's a globally engaged university dedicated to advancing knowledge and society and to providing every student with a valuable, rigorous, experiential and technology-infused education, as evidenced most recently by one of our College of Engineering students, Sarah Al-Arifi. While completing her internship at MIT, Sarah contributed to a patent and award-winning project called WeTrack. She assisted in the development of a software solution for this technology that uses nano-invasive radio signals to allow for highly accurate 3D motion tracking. The application for this technology include permitting the observation of premature infants in incubators during their recovery in the NICU, or Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. WeTrack was selected for presentation at the 2015 White House Demo Day, a prestigious event for cutting-edge technology hosted by US President Barack Obama. The aim of the CGI project is to improve the corporate governance culture in Saudi Arabia. To this end, a strategic plan is in place that will employ a long-term incremental approach that seeks feedback and wisdom from various experts. Alfaisal has been in a direct communication with the regulators, businesses, and corporate governance communities. As well as other interested parties, to seek their collective wisdom in creating the most credible corporate governance research program for the Saudi market. The CGI project is led by a distinguished team that includes prominent corporate governance scholars and professionals. We are truly fortunate to have such a great team in place. Our outstanding advisory team includes Senior Advisor for the CGI project, Professor David Betty, Director of the Clarkson Center for Corporate Governance at Rotman School of Management, University of Toronto, Advisor Dr. Stephen Davies, Senior Fellow at the Corporate Governance Program at Harvard, and Senior Fellow at the Brookings Institutions in Washington, D.C. Our excellent research team is led by Principal Researcher and Director of the CGI project, Professor Abdulaziz Alwthnani. The project has and will continue to enrich the learning experience of Alfaisal students. Currently, about 23 students are working for the CGI project, and more students are likely to join the project every year. The CGI project is expected to emerge as an exemplary training ground for Alfaisal business students and to provide them with unparalleled opportunities for hands-on experience that will equip them with practical and professional skills that are highly sought after in marketplace. In meaningful corporate governance, markets will achieve a comparative advantage when they feature diversified information centers and advocacy from the media, regulators, investors, professional organizations, or academic institutions. Alfaisal University and SAGIA have high expectation for the CGI project to work as a catalyst to improve Saudi corporate governance. Together with the government and allied with research, they believe that corporate governance has become a universal theme and guiding principle for the global investment community, as it is widely used by investors as a screening tool to identify good investment opportunities. Demonstrated attention to best practices could facilitate in attracting greater internal and external capital investments to the kingdom. Focus on the topic of corporate governance could be expected to generate demand for expertise in corporate governance and consulting services, triggering the emergence of a domestic corporate governance industry. Consequently, expanding the need for accounting and financial services in the Saudi market and generating professional jobs for young Saudis. With its newly expected to be inaugurated Corporate Governance Research Center, Alfaisal University hopes to emerge as the epicenter for corporate governance, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in the region. In addition to conducting corporate governance research, the center will serve to raise the profile of corporate governance among business leaders and regulators. In conclusion, both Alfaisal University and SAGIA expect the center to serve as a think tank, periodically issuing recommendations regarding public policy to address a corporate governance challenges. Recommendation would focus on supporting regulators and policymakers in both strengthening adherence to market regulations and to improving best practices for corporate governance in Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Let's see. Where did this show screen here? Proud. It's only Sagia can put it together. And as you see, Alfaisal full of talents. As one sit down, the other rise. And Alfaisal really an inspiring story of this great nation of ours. And the CGI project is just one piece of that inspiring story. So today we'll share with you. Today we'll share with you the work of the CGI. We'll share with you our methodology. Fix this. Put on the screen.
This one?
Okay. This one. So we'll share with you our methodology. We'll share with you our finding, and also we'll share with you where we are going from here. So there you go. Thanks. Full screen.
It's here, full screen.
It's not. We still haven't. Okay, I think we got to wait a little bit for this is. Let's see. I think. The projectors. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it. So basically, we'll walk you through this. This is basically our model. This is our score structure. Our models based on two equally weighted components, and which is mandatory disclosure. This is the disclosure that company required to disclose by law. And the other one is voluntary disclosure. That's the information that company, they put them forward for transparency and also being good citizen. These are the equivalent of 100 points. And also the company can earn up to 8 points. This is the 8 additional or bonus point to encourage board independence and also to encourage company to seek and recruit female board members. So company could earn up to 8 points, up to 5 points for each independent board members. This is a maximum of 5, and then could earn 1 additional point for each female board member. That's up to 3 points. So our methodology, basically, we start with the voluntary disclosure. Voluntary disclosure will break it down to 5 components, which is board characteristic, board function, top management and director compensation, and audit committee, and then report presentation, and then the mandatory disclosure, that include 3, with CMA listing rule, financial disclosure requirement, and then CMA corporate governance. So the information, which basically our research based on, is all of publicly available information. It is financial report for 2014, Tadawul website, and then company website as well, and then with the special focus on board director annual report. So this is basically our sample. We start with all listed 171 company. Then we eliminate 3 companies that are newly listed this year. They didn't have available financial report yet. Then also, further, we eliminate 5 companies. These companies that has been suspended for a while, they are not trading. We end up with 163 companies. That's basically all this company included in our report. So basically what we have done, we calculate the average score for the whole market. Then we calculate the overall score distribution. That's the distribution for the mean. The averages for each component, which is mandatory and voluntarily. And the average for voluntary category. We'll break it down and I'll tell you the reason why we've done this. And then the industry level score, overall ranking, and industry level ranking as well. Then what we disclose of this? We disclose all the aggregate average, all the aggregate distribution, all the aggregate statistic we disclose them. We only hold back the company score and the ranking. So we decided for the first report, which is basically CGI 2015 report, we decided to disclose the average stat, except for company ranking and company's individual score, we hold it back. And the reason is this. One, for most of the items that's included in the voluntary disclosure, they are new to the market, Saudi market. So we believe if the company given sufficient time, they would incorporate most of this in their corporate framework. And the other thing, which is our corporate governance criteria, we disclosed them that were unveiled in April of this year. By that time, company, they reported already in the market or in the public eye. So this is the reason, this for the first report, we disclose all the averages. So the company, basically, they know which the item they need improvement, which the item they are up to date on that. So basically, this is the overall average. We calculate the overall average for the markets, 55 point, or percentage point. Then we looked at it compared to other markets, especially their inaugural report. Then we find out this is basically for 2019, the inaugural report for the Singaporean company was 36%. Then we went back and looked to the component of our CGI, which is now we have 2 components, major component, which is the mandatory component and also the voluntary component. Then we look to the mandatory, find the company, they got 40 points out of 50. That's equivalent of 86%. That's basically, it's very good, and at high point in the mandatory. We went and we checked the voluntary component. The company scored 12 points out of 50. That's equivalent to 24 points. So there is a room for improvement and room for growth in the future. We think it's in the voluntarily. So this is basically, it's the distribution. On the left side, which is the y-axis, you will see the CGI score. And the bottom, which is the x-axis, you will see the company. So you see this is the distribution of company around the mean or the average, which is 55. So if you look, this is the 55. You see the company, we said maybe the lower, which was about 41. The upper is about 72 or 73. So there's a variation about 30 given or take point. Then we look it down, we break it down its component. If you remember, there are 2 main components and also the bonuses. Then the component, if you look at the top line, this is the solid blue line. This is the overall. The second from the top, the green, this is the mandatory. Then you see the ranking here, or basically the average, is mainly driven by the mandatory. If you see the third from the top, or the second from the bottom, which is the sky blue line, this is the voluntary. So the voluntary, the average here is about 12 points. And if you see the maroon color at the bottom, it's about less than 1. That is basically the voluntary. So here you see it's the overall score. This is the component. And you see what's driving the component, driving the score is basically the mandatory. So there is a room for improvement, especially. So next year and the after, we'll see improvement. And we hope for that. And I'm sure company will take note of this. They will see improvement in the voluntary part, which is the sky blue line here. This is the overall average. To the far left, this is basically the overall score. And you see the blue line is the standard. The maroon, this is the actuals. If you see the average is about 55. The next one to it is mandatory. It's about 43 out of 50. The third one from the left, it's the voluntarily, so the average is about 12. So there is a room here for growth. This is basically, we focus, this is basically what needs to be further and need also to be, there is substantial improvement for company to improve on this. So then we took it down, we took the voluntary and we break it down. The voluntary, if you remember, it has 5 components. So we looked at them. This is the component, basically the first one, the board characteristic, the second board function, the third compensation, the fourth audit committee, and the fifth is the report, or presentation of the report, or representation of the report. So you see here there is a lot of room for improvement for all these categories. So these we expect in the future, the growth will come from here, from all this component. So company now know where these components, which will they improve, and this is we hope and we'll see it in the future years to come. So this is basically what we think room for future growth or improvement will be. You will see here the compliance rate for the first category is about 32. There is a room for growth, it's about 68 if my math is right. And then the second, it's about 7%. So room for growth about 93%. And this is almost 100% we need there. This is 37% compliance. That's basically there is about 63 percentile for growth. So these, the area that I think that's the low-hanging fruit. It's basically for company that you need to improve on them. So then what we did in this, what we provide in this report. Basically, this report provides a clear picture about the state of the corporate governance practice in Saudi market, and it's a very good one. There is a room for improvement, and especially in the voluntary component of it. And then also it shows the strength, and there is weaknesses in that, and also show the area where we think the growth will be, which is basically the voluntary one. And also the report established for the first time a benchmark for the Saudi corporate that will be measuring the progress of Saudi corporate governance for years to come against this benchmark. And also this is give business opportunity to reflect on and learn from our report, CGI report 2015. That basically company will learn from this, and also will be providing company with the feedback. Company will sending basically a scorecard for company. We tell them this is basically, we're not giving score away, but also give that this is where they really do very well, and there is the area that need improvement. So we'll be mailing out, watch for email for the next few days and also weeks. You will see that in your mailbox. So basically, what we are from here, for 2000, which is CGI 2016 report, we will provide in company, we believe company will incorporate these low-hanging fruit in their model, and then they will improve basically include in their corporate framework, and also they improving their work. Company will be given feedback, and also next year we'll basically disclose not only the aggregate, but also will basically disclose the company score and the company ranking by industry and by the market as well. So these basically, this is our report, and thank you, and we'll be around and talking to many of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Abdulaziz. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now break for lunch. GFCC members, kindly note that the GFCC meeting will take place now at the Seasons restaurant toward the lobby of the hotel. Please proceed to the doors on your right. Everyone else, please proceed through the doors on your left for lunch. Thank you.